The valley seals shut around our boy, beams of spirit light snapping into a dome overhead. And just like that, his teleport is dead. No way out. 12 gold-rank Bull Clan beasts ring the peaks above him, 4 of them master quality, their horned leader booming that it's been decades since a human wandered in to feed them. Then, the one they've been hiding steps out of the light to finish the arrogant junior. A shining star, a full realm above our guy, the kind of gap that is supposed to be an instant death sentence. He strolls forward like this is already over. Our boy doesn't back up. Black flame roars to life along his arm, and the anode divine spear drops into his grip. Divine fire and divine spear igniting together into something the whole ring of beasts can suddenly feel in their bones. One motion. The spear crosses the distance wrapped in black fire, and the shining star, an elder a full rank above him, simply drops, as if the mountain itself decided the man's time was up. The valley goes dead silent. 12 gold-rank monsters stare at the young man standing over a fallen elder he had no business touching. And for the first time all day, the ones who set the trap are the ones who are afraid. But to understand how a mocked, powerless nobody ended up one-shotting his own superiors on a sealed mountain, we have to rewind all the way back to the day our boy was the biggest joke in his entire school. Great Flame Country, Guangchuan City, the dead middle of winter. In a cramped third-year classroom, a bespectacled teacher scans the rows for a victim to answer a question about star beasts. And his eyes snag on the delicate kid by the window, who is very clearly 1,000 miles away. Yuan. He calls the name like a small punishment. Our boy blinks back to the room with absolutely no idea what the question was, and half the class is already smirking, leaning in to watch the fallen prodigy fumble in front of everyone. Then a low voice from his right feeds him the answer. Quiet enough that only he catches it, and he rattles off the beast's entire profile so cleanly, the teacher's frown melts into an approving nod. The one who whispered the save is Jang Jun, a sharp, cold girl with a short red ponytail nobody in class dares to bother. Our guy murmurs a thanks. She glances at him without a flicker of expression and looks straight back to the front, and he shakes his head at how icy she is before filing it away. The teacher watches this student and can't stop the sigh building in his chest because everyone in this room knows the story. Yoon used to be the pride of the whole school, the first kid ever to break into the 6th stage of Star Apprentice here, the name every teacher bragged about to visitors. Then our boy pulled his Soul Awakening card, tried to awaken his life-bound soul card the way every student does at that stage, and nothing happened. Not once. Not for an entire year, while classmate after classmate awakened their own cards and blew past the miracle kid who'd stalled dead in the water. The teacher tells him gently to just focus on his grades, that even without a soul card, he won't starve after graduation. It is meant as kindness. It lands like a headstone, because in this world, the students who can't awaken a soul card are the ones who never become anything at all. For a year, our boy has swallowed that pity in silence, watched former rivals pull ahead, listened to teachers lower their voices when they talk about him. Anyone else would have broken. He just kept his head down and kept counting, because he knew something none of them did, that his silence was about to end on his terms, not theirs. What not one person in that classroom could guess is that the reason our guy keeps zoning out is a semi-transparent panel floating in front of his eyes that only he can see. A system. And it has just ticked over to 9 points of something called stardust. Here is the secret our boy is quietly sitting on. He isn't from this world. He was an ordinary office worker on Earth who died in an accident and woke up a year ago inside a student's body on Blue Sea Star. A planet that runs on star power instead of physics, where people arm themselves with star cards and command lightning, fire, and space itself. And bolted to his soul is a cheat that nobody else on the planet has. The cruel irony our boy sits with every day is that he already lived one whole life as a nobody. An office worker who clocked in, clocked out, and died without leaving a mark, and got handed a second one in a world where power is everything. He is not going to waste it being pitied. That quiet resolve is the real engine under the system, and it never once flickers. The system does 3 quiet, world-breaking things. It can pour stardust into any card to raise its skill all the way to perfect, the top tier almost nobody ever reaches. It can decompose spare cards back into raw stardust, and it slowly regenerates that dust on its own. For a full year, our guy has been starving the meter, hoarding every single point, waiting for it to hit 10. Because 10, he's calculated, is exactly enough for one last gamble on the dead white card in his chest. When the bell finally rings for winter break, our boy is the only student in the building not cheering, because his meter just hit 10. He tears out of school, rides the light rail home, tells his parents not to disturb him no matter what they hear, locks his door, and dumps everything he saved into the useless card sleeping in his soul. The awakening rips through him and knocks him out cold for 2 hours. When he comes to, dizzy and aching, he reaches inside himself, bracing for the same silence he's gotten every other time. It isn't silent. A tiny card hangs at his chest with a blue back, and on its face a young phoenix is tearing its way out of a cocoon in a burst of azure light. Blue, a master-grade soul card. Our boy's hands are shaking because he knows the odds cold. Most people who awaken at all pull a common white card and cap out low forever. Fewer than 1 in 100 pull a blue MasterCard, the mark of a true monster, all but guaranteed to climb high. The kid the whole school pitied just awakened a talent rarer than every genius who ever laughed at him, and not one living soul knows it happened. The card is the Azure Sky Phoenix, and it is a nightmare of a first draw. Its element is space itself. It floods his 6 core stats until his body outclasses beasts a full stage above him. Gives him silver-eyed spatial sight that turns the world into a see-through map of white open space and black obstacles. And lets him fold space and blink across a room in a flash of silver light. Our guy tests it that night by teleporting straight into his own kitchen behind his startled mother and has to swallow a grin. He spends the rest of that night quietly cataloging what changed, testing a grip that now cracks furniture by accident, and repeating one rule to himself like a prayer that not a single person can ever see this. A kid who jumped from can't awaken to master grade overnight would draw exactly the kind of attention that gets people like him dissected. His parents, Su Yang and Tang Shi Yang, only see a son who finally seems less haunted, who's suddenly eager to go train instead of moping in his room. They have no idea the quiet kid at their dinner table now teleports, reads space like a map, and could level the apartment block by accident. Our boy keeps the biggest secret on the planet, the same way he kept his misery, in total silence, with a small, polite smile. But the Phoenix is only half the cheat. The real engine is the system, and now our boy finally has cards to feed it. The next morning, he lies to his parents about training, straps 10 days of supplies to his back, and walks alone into the Great Barbarian Mountains, the one wild zone near the city, crawling with beasts up to Silver Stage. First real fight of his life, and he drops a pair of 9th stage steel-toothed dogs without taking a serious hit, because his Phoenix-boosted body simply crushes anything at his level. Then he runs the loop that turns a lucky kid into a rising storm. He carves the star core out of a downed beast, extracts a skill card from it, and feeds that card to the system, watching it shatter into stardust. More fuel. Extract, decompose, enhance, extract again. A cycle no other cultivator alive can run. And every card he keeps, he pumps to perfect. Including a steel flame finger that punches clean through things a boy his age has no right to touch. It's worth sitting on how broken this loop is. A normal cultivator on this planet might chase one decent card for years and never once push it to perfect. Our boy walks into a forest at dawn, and by nightfall, he's turned a heap of downed beasts into a deck where every card is maxed. Nobody can keep pace with a growth curve that isn't obeying the same rules as everyone else's. In those mountains, our guy also crosses paths with Zhuang Shun, a wealthy young master out hunting an elite green flame white wolf for its flame crystal. Zhuang Shun is no slouch, dancing around the wolf with a green-grade fire sword, but our boy waves him off and takes the wolf himself, and it nearly costs him. The wolf's talent turns its own wounds into damage, and our guy walks out scorched and battered, the beast cooling at his feet. Zhuang Shun stares at the downed elite wolf, then at the calm, battered kid, and can barely get the words out, asking if he really just did that alone. Our boy nods like it's nothing, already scolding himself internally for getting cocky, and Zhuang Shun quietly decides this quiet lunatic must be some hidden expert. Our guy leaves his first hunt with a fatter deck, a rich new friend, and a private reminder that he only has one life to gamble with. When the new semester opens, the whole city throws its middle schoolers into a joint trial inside a secret realm packed with real bronze stage beasts. A place dangerous enough that students genuinely don't all come back out. Everyone expects the 2 top schools to farm the rewards like they do every year. Nobody is watching the fallen prodigy from 4th middle. Even his own school pins its hopes on the awakened kids, on cold, capable Jiang Jun and a sharp fighter named Li Xinghen, the ones with real soul cards. Our boy is the charity case they dragged along, the tragic genius who peaked at 14. That is the read the entire city carries in, and it is about to age very, very badly. In the command center, the city guards monitoring the trial nearly choke on their coffee. Our boy, tagged as Student 388, runs down a bronze black shadow leopard at a speed no Star Apprentice should be able to hit and ends it in a single strike. The guards forget the education director is standing right behind them and start swearing at the replay, demanding to know how a kid matched a bronze beast's speed and dropped it in one move. They run the clip back frame by frame, arguing over whether that was really a steel flame finger. Whether any Star Apprentice alive should move like that, one of them admitting he isn't sure he could run that fast himself. On the screen, a kid the whole city forgot is quietly rewriting what a student is even allowed to be. Our guy isn't there to farm points. He's hunting the trial's marked boss while other students flee, screaming past him. His cold classmate, Jiang Jun, the girl who fed him that answer on day 1, is pinned in a vicious fight against a poison-fire 2-headed python alongside 3 others, 2 of them already broken and pulling out. It's slipping away from her. Then our boy walks in and takes the bronze python's twin heads off with one gray flame strike, so fast the others don't even register it happening. Jiang Jun stares at the downed beast, then at the classmate everyone wrote off, and for the first time, that icy face cracks with something like disbelief. From that day, Jiang Jun looks at our boy differently. She doesn't say much, she never does, but the girl who tossed him a pity answer on the first day now watches the fallen prodigy like she's trying to solve a problem that shouldn't have an answer. She's the first person in the whole story to sense that the story everyone tells about Yuan is flat out wrong. It's a small human thread the story keeps tugging, this handful of people, Jiang Jun's quiet stare, Zhuang Shun's awe, Xiao Yi's fixation, who each catch a glimpse of the truth without ever seeing the panel. None of them know about the system. All of them can feel that our boy is something the world doesn't have a name for yet. He keeps going. He finds the trial's actual boss, a hulking earth element beast, and unveils something the world has never seen from a student. A divine tier skill he calls elemental magnetism pressure that pins the monster in place like gravity itself turned against it. Students scattered across the realm feel the boss marker move, and the ones nearby are already running, shouting that whatever is doing this is terrifying. The Earth Element boss is a genuine monster, and our boy meets it head on, that elemental magnetism pressure clamping down until the beast can barely drag its own weight across the ground. It's the kind of skill masters would pay fortunes for, and it just came out of a student everyone had already buried on paper. And when the trial timer finally ends and every other kid sprints for the exit, our guy just stays inside and keeps hunting. Because points are points, and the beasts are still standing. Back at the square, the education director has been parked at a window for 2 hours, refusing to leave until he lays eyes on this kid himself. When a guard is finally asked how student 388 actually did, the man stares up at the ceiling, dazed, and gives the only word that fits. Unprecedented. Our boy walked in a nobody and walked out with over 10,000 points, a score the trial has never recorded. From the one student the entire city had already given up on. Rival geniuses from the top schools who came expecting to sweep the board just stare at that number. Running the math over and over, unable to make it fit the fallen prodigy from fourth middle. It doesn't fit. It was never going to fit. That's the whole point. That single trial is the hinge the whole story turns on. Before it, our boy is a rumor with silver eyes. After it, the academies come knocking, the envoys start circling. And the machine that raises the country's monsters finally pulls the fallen prodigy into its gears, exactly where a transmigrator with a private cheat wants to be. The reward is a golden ticket, a special admission that rips our guy off the no future track and drops him onto the ladder toward bronze rank and the elite academies. Nobody connects the dots. To the whole city, he's a shocking dark horse who somehow got strong overnight. Only we know the truth behind those silver eyes, the system quietly turning every takedown into fuel and every card into a perfect card. The climb steepens fast. Our boy powers through a bronze-level assessment, then dives into a nightmare called the Molten Lava Cave. An earth cave dungeon of black flying swarms, twisting labyrinth corridors, and rival crews from other provinces all racing for the same buried treasures. Down in the dark, he picks up a Nether Wolf summon card that calls up undead Netherfire Steelbone wolves. And the tactician in him lights up, because now he doesn't just fight, he fields a pack. The Earth Cave is a meat grinder of its own. Rival crews from every province stalking the same corridors. More than willing to put a knife in a lone outsider for a shot at the loot. Our boy moves through it like he's done this 100 times. Bone wolves scouting ahead, teleport pulling him out of every trap before it closes. This is where the Nether Wolf Pack really earns its slot. Our boy sends the undead wolves down side corridors as scouts and ambushers, netherfire gnawing at anything they touch, and blinks between them like a commander who's everywhere at once. Rival crews who set an ambush keep finding the ambush already sprung, on them, from a direction they never covered. At the heart of the dungeon sits the White Bone Hall, a 3-trial treasure vault, and a red-eyed rival named Geng Chi-Yui has just cleared it, walking out beaming with a glowing blue Hellfire card he crossed provinces to grab. He's mid-gloat, already planning to make it his sole skill, when a black shape drops out of the sky above him like a cannonball. Our guy takes the trial, takes the treasures, and walks off with a haul Geng Chi-Yui will be grinding his teeth about for arcs to come. Geng Chi-Yui picks himself up humiliated, a crossed province's prize snatched out of his hands by a nobody who fell from the sky, and swears this isn't over. It's the first entry in a long ledger of proud fighters who meet our boy, lose something they were sure was theirs, and spend the next stretch of the story quietly plotting a rematch that never goes their way. Inside the hall, our boy claims his first real star device, a hell-chanting ring, master quality. An ancient thing dragged up from the abyss, carved with a snarling demon head that supercharges his spiritual power and shields his mind from spiritual attacks. It's the kind of item veterans kill for, and a bronze kid just pocketed it like loose change. Anyone who knows what a master quality star device is worth would tell you veterans have died over less. That a ring like that should be locked in a secret vault, not writing on the finger of a first year. Our guy just slots it into his kit and keeps walking, Because at this point, a priceless abyss relic is simply Tuesday. By the time he leaves that dungeon, the loot sheet is absurd. A summon pack, a master-quality abyss ring, a stack of cores and cards, all of it feeding the loop, all of it pushing toward perfect. Our boy went into the Earth Cave a promising bronze and comes out carrying gear that Silver Stage veterans would go to war over. Then there's the Insect Witch. A villain named Mo Wenwen, who fields swarms of insect servants, is certain she's just erased our boy with an overwhelming attack, staring into the dust and smoke waiting for confirmation. Instead, a flash of silver light blooms right in front of her, and our guy is simply there, saber in hand. She chokes out that he can't still be standing, and in that half second, she reads the whole story on his face and gives up every hope she had. Double kill becomes triple kill, and our boy strolls out of the Earth Cave buried in treasure while the survivors are still working out what hit them. That performance puts his name in front of a special envoy from the Demon Capital, the beating heart of the country's star card world and home to its most feared academy. Our boy gets the one thing every talented kid on the planet dreams of, an invitation to leave his small city behind and enroll where the true monsters are raised. He says goodbye to his parents, and our guy sets off for the Demon Capital. The academy's welcome is a meat grinder. Before classes even begin, freshmen are thrown into a real battlefield arena for pre-selection, and the hall is already buzzing about the untouchable golden girl of their year. Xiao Yue, a top-tier genius and unapologetic whale who shatters her opponent with a fiery flame-red lotus and walks off looking bored to death. She half mutters to herself that nobody here is worth her time, that she should have stayed in Demon City, where at least a few real fighters live. That boredom is the whole tragedy of Xiao Yi. She's a genius and a whale both, born to money and to talent. And from childhood, every room she walked into made her the center of attention. Every opponent folded the second she got serious. She isn't cruel. She's just starving for anyone who can make her actually try. She has no idea that someone in this exact hall is about to. The hall gets its first jolt when a tiny girl named Luo Bingtong catches a third transition armor-breaking hammer bare-handed, a blow meant to flatten a silver elite beast. Stopped cold on her blade like it's made of plastic. The boy who swung it, Yao Tianba, stares at his own weapon like it betrayed him. Unable to accept that a girl who barely reaches his chest just caught a blow meant to flatten a silver elite. The stands go off like a bomb. Half of them convinced the fearsome hammer was a fake, and even our boy quietly upgrades his read on Luo Bingtong from freshman to problem. The whole stand erupts, and even our boy narrows his eyes, clocking that her raw strength talent might be maxed out, higher than his own. She's not a rival. She's about to be one of his sharpest allies. Then our boy takes the floor for his final challenge, and the whole practical combat hall goes dead silent before it detonates. He summons not one, but two armored, sword-wielding hellfires, master-grade demon race beasts grown fully into their raw creation power, and they carve through his trial like living siege engines. A bookish kid in glasses named Kibei starts frantically explaining to the crowd that those aren't normal summons. That fully developed hellfires, like those, are frontline monsters, that this should be flatly impossible for a freshman. The whole doesn't just clap, it stops breathing. Two fully grown hellfires in armor, wielding swords, moving like disciplined soldiers is the kind of board a real Silver Stage summoner would be proud of. And it's being fielded by a kid who's supposed to still be learning the rules. Every senior in the room recalculates where the ceiling of this year actually is. Xiao Ye, who was one breath away from writing off the entire school, sits bolt upright. For the first time in longer than she can remember, someone in the room made her look twice. Our guy clears his entry challenge in a way that instantly plants him among the top names of his year. And every genius in the Demon Capital who thought they'd already seen the ceiling just watched it walk in, wearing the face of a kid who couldn't awaken a card 12 months ago. The rewards get richer, and so does his backing. A powerful old generation figure named Yang Yifeng takes an interest in our boy and sits him down to choose his path. Laying out the Academy's rarest prizes, epic purple cards with passive enhancements, a fist technique, a water art, and a fire art called the Burning Sun technique. Our guy, Phoenix in his soul and fire in his blood, reaches straight for the sun. And that single choice becomes the seed of the Great Sun Burning Body technique that will one day let him walk into a divine fire and live. Yang Yifeng watches how our boy chooses, fast, certain, no hesitation, and files it away. The old man has seen 1,000 talents come and go, and he can tell the difference between a kid who got lucky and a kid who knows exactly what he's building toward. From this point, doors our guy doesn't even know exist start quietly opening in front of him. The Academy's task board becomes his personal money printer, where other students grind low-risk errands for scraps of academic points. Our boy takes the jobs nobody wants, clears them faster than the posted estimate, and turns the points straight back into rarer skills and stronger cards. The gap that opened at enrollment doesn't hold steady. Every single week, it grows. Inside the walls, our boy goes to work like a professional. There's a star mist pool that supercharges cultivation, a task system that pays out academic points. And rare star nest openings he figures out how to crack open, connecting caves and doubling his gains, while everyone else grinds. He also picks up the people who matter. A steady classmate named Huang Xiang, who watches his back and grows scary strong just by refusing to be left behind. And for the first time since he transmigrated, our guy isn't carrying the whole secret entirely alone. Huang Xiang never learns the truth about the system, and that's exactly why the friendship lands. He watches our boy pull off the impossible again and again, and just decides to grind harder to keep up. No envy, no suspicion, only a stubborn loyalty. In a story full of geniuses trying to tear each other down, our guy quietly collects the rare ones who'd rather stand next to him than under him. His first real missions drag our boy out of the classroom and into the field, hunting a flame bull demon, counter-ambushing scavengers from the quicksand sect who hunt students for loot. It stops being a training exercise in a hurry. Xiao Yue, the untouchable golden girl herself, gets snatched by a silver stage crew led by a yellow-faced old man named Manhwa. And a brave, water-armored girl named Lu Yingying is left standing in the sand, blade trembling in her hands, watching them drag Xia Yi off because the gap is simply too wide for her to cross. Lu Yingying makes the brutal call to run for help rather than throw her life away, and Manhwa melts into the ground like liquid to chase her down. That is the exact moment our guy arrives and flips the entire board. He crosses the sea, burns through the kidnappers with his fierce flame, and pulls both girls out. The golden princess who was bored by literally everyone just got saved by the one classmate who genuinely impressed her, and the dramatic irony writes itself. Because Xiao Yue thinks she was rescued by some monstrously strong senior-tier talent, not a transmigrated office worker running a system nobody can see. The scale of the rescue is what rattles everyone. 2 kilometers out, Lu Yingying watches a pillar of fire punch clean through a sea dragon, like divine retribution falling out of the sky, and she can't even process it. Certain some hidden silver master must have joined the fight, because surely Su Yuan couldn't do that alone. Beside her, Gang Chi Yui just trembles, staring at the dying flame, finally starting to grasp what he keeps losing to. For Xiao Ye, it lands even harder later, when it finally hits her that the impossible fire that saved everyone came from the classmate she'd already decided was interesting. The bored genius, who could never find a reason to try, suddenly has one standing right in front of her, calm, unbothered, pretending it was nothing. And that quiet mystery is the hook that keeps her circling him for the rest of the climb. From here on, wherever our boy fights, she's paying very close attention. For Xiao Yu, that fight rearranges something. The bored girl who folded every opponent finally has a name to chase, a classmate who is somehow always a step past where she expects him to be. She starts turning up wherever our boy is headed, half rival, half something she won't put a word to yet. And the story lets that thread quietly hum under everything that follows. The quicksand sect that started all this are exactly the kind of rot these academies breed. Older fighters who prey on students in the field for cores and cards, betting nobody strong enough to punish them will ever show up. Manhwa Xiong made that bet against the wrong first year. Our guy doesn't just free the hostages, he makes an example, and word travels. That rescue also drops our boy into the politics of the elite academies, where a rival named Chen Jun has clawed his way up through a hard transformation, and now struts around dead certain our guy is beneath him, telling him to his face that he isn't qualified enough to even stand across from him. Our boy answers the only way he ever does, in the arena. And Chen Jun, the reborn prodigy, ends up as just one more defeated foe in a growing line of people who mistook a quiet monster for easy prey. Chen Jun clawed his whole comeback out of a brutal transformation, remade himself specifically so he'd never be looked down on again, and it buys him about 30 seconds of dignity. Our boy dismantles the reborn prodigy so cleanly that the lesson stops being about winning at all and becomes about how far the real gap sits below anything the hall can even measure. Then comes the exchange that turns those 3 little words into a legend. At a cross-academy tournament, the other schools quietly gang up on Demon Capital Academy, picking off their fighters one by one, Zhang Tai losing on stage, the rest of the crew feeling the pressure mount. Xiao Yi leans in and warns our boy that the whole hall has lined up against them. So our guy walks to the stage and calmly announces that he'll take all of them, every remaining genius, one after another. The venue goes feral. People call him crazy, arrogant, insane, one against many, and even his own teammates go numb, Sha Yu's eyes blowing wide, nobody able to believe he just said it out loud. Then he backs it up. Our boy repels the entire crowd of Academy elites, wave after wave, the whole "you're not qualified" sneer thrown right back down every last throat. Until the geniuses who are supposed to bury Demon Capital are the ones limping off stage. The reveal that lands hardest is a small one. Half the crowd assumed our boy was some ranged prodigy, a summoner hiding behind his cards. And then he steps into melee range and fights as a warrior, up close, personal, out-muscling people built for exactly that. Xiao Yu just stares, speechless, watching the quiet classmate she thought she'd figured out turn into something none of them had a box for. That's the beat that flips the whole hall's model of him. Everyone had slotted our boy as a card slinger who hides behind summons, and the instant he steps into fists and blades range and outfights specialists at their own game, the sneers curdle into unease. You can't scout a fighter who's good at everything, and the academies leave that exchange realizing they never actually knew what they were up against. Then comes the arc that permanently raises our boy's ceiling. A secret realm cracks open, and inside it, a golden divine bird and a savage great sun burning body technique are on the table. Along with the one material every Phoenix user on the planet would trade their soul for. The golden divine bird guarding the realm is no pushover, the kind of prize other teams would spend weeks and lives failing to claim. Our boy treats it as a stepping stone, folding its space with his Phoenix, chipping it down with white flame, and walking away with a technique that will one day let his body host a sun. Every treasure in this realm feeds directly into the version of him that walks into a divine fire later. On Moyang Peak, our guy takes 3 silver master beasts for a walk at once, a golden armored sword dragon, a red striped winged divine bird, and a purple flame mad lion, teleporting a half step out of reach every time they close, letting them exhaust and enrage themselves, then carving all 3 down with white flame. It's a masterclass in what a space element actually means. 3 silver master beasts, all faster and stronger than him on paper, and none of them can lay a claw on our boy, because the instant they close, he simply isn't there anymore. He fights the whole peak like a man who owns the exits, and by the end, the phoenix in his chest has grown fat on the kill. He walks off that peak with a 7 radiant silver branch and whispers of a phoenix treasure surfacing at the coming auction. At that auction, among gold rank masters circling the finale lots, the auctioneer brings out a fist-sized orange-red stone with living flame burning slow inside it. The Phoenix Nirvana Stone. Our boy and that same red-eyed rival Geng Chi-yi both lock on at the exact same instant, and the bidding turns into a knife fight. Because this isn't just a pretty rock, it's the key to strengthening the Azure Phoenix, and, one day, to taming a divine fire. Zhang Chui drives the price into the sky, but our guy has been farming this whole story for exactly this moment, and refuses to blink. He walks out of that hall with the Nirvana Stone in hand, and deep in his Phoenix card, something stirs that will let it burn and be reborn stronger from its own ashes. The auction's true finale is a climactic star core the whole room has been circling, gold rank masters included. And our boy walks out with that too, because at this point, money is just another resource his loot prints. The masters who came to dominate the night keep glancing at the quiet young man scooping up their prizes, unable to place him, unable to outbid him, unable to do anything but watch. Geng Chu-yi, watching from across the hall, loses the same prize to the same person a second time, and something behind his red eyes finally curdles into real hatred. Our guy doesn't even look at him. He's already turning the Nirvana Stone over in his mind, seeing the phoenix it will one day make, the rebirth that turns a hard death into a harder comeback. Fresh off that win, our guy strolls into a 3 cities elite exchange and effortlessly folds a prodigy the Demon City crowd had crowned untouchable. The kind of casual humiliation that makes an entire region rethink who the real top talent is. He breaks hunting records, crushes trial after trial, and forges a phoenix perch saber that turns his phoenix power into a blade. The gap between our boy and his so-called peers isn't closing anymore. It's widening into a canyon. The big arena tournament brings every rivalry to a head. Our guy's crew, with Xiao Ye lobbing enhanced fireballs under the boost of a luck ring, slams head first into Wen Chen Wei. A slippery genius whose 7-star step scatters 7 starlight afterimages and lets him teleport between them mid-fight, dodging and closing like a ghost. The stands gasp as he vanishes and reappears, replacing his own illusions, and for a moment it looks like our side might actually be outmaneuvered. The crowd calls the move by name, 7-star step, 7 afterimages a step, the wielder swapping places with any one of them in a blink. It's a nightmare for anyone who fights by tracking a body, and for a heartbeat, Wen Chen Wei looks untouchable, a ghost dancing just out of reach of everything thrown at him. But there is a very specific reason our boy is the worst possible matchup for a teleporter. Wen Chen Wei swaps between afterimages inside a small range. Our guy's Phoenix owns space itself, reads the field like an open map, and blinks with intent instead of tricks. The ghost dance meets someone who was already standing where the ghost was about to appear. When the dust settles on the Battle of Qiankun, Wen Chen Wei's 7-image trick looks less like genius and more like a man trying to outrun the weather. Our boy doesn't chase the afterimages, he closes the space they're built on, and the crowd that gasped at the ghost now watches the ghost get run down in his own domain. But our boy has spent this entire story building for exactly this kind of enemy, a teleporter versus the master of space itself. And the tournament crescendos into the battle of Qiankun, heaven and earth, where his phoenix instincts and his perfect deck grind Wen Chen Wei's tricks into dust. Then a red sword monster named Ji Xuan steps up, wielding an Anno Divine Spear, a purification sword domain, and a crimson light clone, and shoves our guy to the closest, ugliest edge he's stood on yet, the fight where he finally has to reach for absolutely everything. Ji Xuan is the closest our boy has come to losing since he awakened. The purification domain eats his skills, the crimson clone doubles the pressure, and that Anno Divine Spear in the wrong hands nearly ends the run right there. For once, the crowd isn't laughing at a mismatch. They're watching a genuine coin flip, holding their breath to see which monster falls. Yuan opens with a black and gold longsword and golden light pouring through his eyes. Sure, his last near miss with our boy in Demon City was a fluke he'll correct today. Our guy answers by weaving 2 clusters of azure flame together in his palm, twin blue flames screaming up to a level that makes even Yuan hesitate. And from there, it turns into the kind of blade and fire duel people talk about for years. Cornered, our boy answers with breath and 5 ultimate skills unleashed back-to-back and tears a win out of a fight he had no business surviving. Walking away with the Anno Divine Spear itself, a master-tier weapon that becomes one of his signature killers. Demon Capital Academy takes the whole tournament first, and the prize is the big one, spots in the Holy Spring, a breakthrough resource that turns cultivation from a crawl into a sprint. In the Holy Spring, our guy does the thing that finally silences the last skeptics. Breaking through to the silver stage first out of everyone in 4 hours flat, while fighters years older are still soaking and straining. A teacher watching the count just shakes his head, because there is no polite way left to describe a student who breaks the room's records for fun. The prize he pries out of Yuan, the Anno Divine Spear, is the sweetest part. A master-tier weapon that becomes a permanent fixture in every big fight after this. Our boy walked into that near loss and walked out not just alive, but upgraded. The exact trade a monster makes, and a normal talent never survives. Stack it up, and the pattern is almost unfair to watch. Our boy keeps walking into fights that should end him. The near loss to Yuan, the sealed valley, the mountain ambush, and keeps walking out the other side carrying whatever the fight was guarding. Danger isn't a threat to him anymore. It's a shopping list. The moment he breaks through, his system panel updates cold and clean. The Azure Sky Phoenix now sitting at master grade with the space element. It's Azure Sky Talent, boosting every space skill he owns. His deck, a wall of perfect cards. On the high of that, his cultivation just keeps cracking, breakthrough on breakthrough, and he unveils the void-splitting monument hand. A giant crushing hand of star power that lets him swat enemies like an irritated god. Our guy isn't climbing the ladder anymore. He's tearing the rungs out behind him. The Holy Spring Hall isn't just his either. It lifts his whole crew. Xiao Yue, Luo Bingtong, Huang Shang, and the rest riding the same wave. So that Demon Capital Academy walks away from that tournament season not with one monster, but with a murderer's row. And at the front of it, casually, sits the boy the whole country wrote off 2 years ago. His next hunting ground is the frozen black snow country, all dense fog and buried ancient ruins. And it's here our boy triggers a second awakening, pushing the Azure Phoenix past its first ceiling and turning himself into something the Silver Stage has no answer for. Situ Qingyan, Yang Yufeng's own granddaughter, comes along expecting to babysit a kid who only just broke through. Instead, she watches our guy suppress a gold rank opponent she couldn't even track, then close a fist dozens of meters wide and simply erase her. Situ Qingyan's head spins as she remembers her grandfather promising our boy was, in his words, a little stronger than most silver students. A little. She can't follow his movements, can't read his positions, and he's standing over a downed gold rank like a war god who wandered into the wrong weight class. That's the running gag of the whole arc. Everyone keeps being told our guy is strong, and everyone keeps wildly underestimating exactly how strong. The giant hand is the image that sticks. Our boy doesn't outduel his opponent, so much as close a fist of pure star power the size of a building around her, and let the sky do the rest. Situ Qingyan, no slouch herself, realizes she never even saw the opening move, and quietly recalibrates her entire sense of what the top of their generation looks like. It's the same lesson the whole world keeps having to relearn about our boy. Rank him by his stage, and he looks like a strong silver. Watch him fight, and the stage is a lie, because the Phoenix, the Divine Spear, the perfect deck. and that giant crushing hand together make a fighter who simply operates on a rung above wherever his cultivation says he should be. The northern prodigy who watched his army turn to frost gets the cruelest version of the lesson. Our boy doesn't finish him fast. He plays with the region's proud genius just long enough to make sure the humiliation sticks, then leaves him alive to carry the story home. Word of a great flame monster who erases summoner armies with a single card starts spreading north long before our guy does. Deep inside an ancient city swallowed by the fog, a northern summoner genius, a blonde youth, fields an entire army, an earth demon bear, a shaman priest, an elf archer team, a wall of summons built to bury any challenger alive. Our boy answers with a single card, a frost giant dragon, and its hexagram barrier erupts into a storm of highly compressed ice crystals, raining down like icy grenades. In 2 seconds, the northern genius's shield can't hold and shatters with a boom. And when the cold mist finally clears, there is nothing left of his army but glittering shards scattered across the ground. The blonde youth's face goes gray as he understands he was never going to win. That a higher grade star card in the hands of a monster like our guy is a completely different species of problem. For that whole army, the fight lasts about 2 seconds. One instant, the ancient city is packed with the blonde youth's summons, an earth demon bear, a shaman priest, a line of elf archers, and the next, there is only cold mist and glitter drifting down over cracked stone. Our boy doesn't even raise his voice. He just picks the frost dragon's card back up and moves on. Our boy walks out of black snow carrying a 4 elements chaotic demon beast, the frost giant dragon, a 12-pointed snowflake imprint, and a haul of silver star cores, his summon roster now deep enough to field an army of his own. He even lightly torments the region's proud northern prodigy on the way out, just to make sure the lesson sticks. Our guy heads back to his country carrying more raw power than entire sects. He barely settles into sophomore year at the Silver High stage before the nation calls its talents to the coast for a garrison task because a sea beast tide is rising. A supervising teacher named Yu Hui hears there's a standout on his island, checks and can't believe it. A sophomore already at Silver High stage? A pace he's sure no student has matched in the last 10 years. The kind of prodigy who has to be backed by a Burning Sun master. He has no idea the real backer is a floating panel only the boy can see. This is the arc where the story stops being about tournaments and starts being about the thin line between the living and the dead. The first clashes bring casualties, real ones. Not every classmate comes back. That loss changes the temperature of everything. The kids who treated the garrison like an extended field trip go quiet. And for the first time, our boy is fighting shoulder to shoulder with people who might be gone by morning. He stops playing and starts working. And the beasts learn very fast what a working version of our guy looks like. Amid 1,000-ton sea beasts smashing the wall, our boy fights differently. Colder. Using a silver binding chain called Skylock to pin a gold rank sea beast in place like a fish on a chopping board and finish it while it thrashes. 2 young magicians watching from a distance can't believe the chain skill, can't believe he heard their shouted warning across all that chaos, and swear to each other on the spot that they have to go meet this expert once the tide breaks. Our guy holds an entire section of the line almost by himself, while the veterans scramble to plug the gaps, and the battle merit he racks up starts drawing eyes from very high up. Those 2 magicians aren't wrong to be spooked. The Skylock is the kind of skill that turns a raid into an execution line. One gold rank sea beast after another pinned mid-lunge and finished before it can thrash free. They keep trading looks across the chaos. Half in awe, half terrified, both certain they've just watched a legend in the making hold a wall that should have needed a squad. When the night raid comes, it comes as a wall of crimson. Gates of hell tearing open the dark near a neighboring squad. A lookout screams the alarm. A captain named Liu Kongyun bolts upright. And the report that filters back is the worst kind. that a fighter named Pei Peng Fei probably didn't make it, that strong sea beasts broke through, that Su Yan is handling it. His squad's hearts drop, because until tonight, they hadn't lost a single person. The tide only gets worse. A night raid, an abnormal, skin-crawling quiet, and then a gold-rank sea beast that our boy cuts down to blow his battle merit up into the tens of thousands. 50,000, a number that snaps heads all the way up to the Sky Patrol Department, the country's most serious internal force. 50,000 battle merit from a sophomore is not a statistic. It's an alarm bell. Officers who've spent careers on that coast can't remember the last student who posted numbers like it. And the name Su Yuan starts circulating in rooms our boy has never been in, attached to words like anomaly and recruit and watch him. The invitation that will later get him ambushed traces straight back to this wall. He fuses ice and fire into interlacing skills, calls the Vermilion Bird Throne, and drives the Anno Divine Spear clean through everything in front of him. Then, in the middle of a desperate fight to stop a reviving Demon King, our guy overreaches on purpose. He pushes the Great Sun burning body technique past his own limit, the Divine Spear punching straight through a Destiny plate to interrupt the revival, scorching himself raw from head to toe. In that same stretch, he fuses ice and fire into one interlacing storm and calls down the Vermilion Bird Throne, fighting with a control over elements that veterans spend lifetimes chasing. The garrison that expected to babysit a talented sophomore ends up watching him anchor the hardest section of the entire tide. That's the arc where our boy stops being the fun prodigy and becomes the guy they send at the thing that's already taking lives. He answers gates of hell with ice and fire braided together, the Vermilion Bird Throne blazing overhead, and holds ground that a fallen comrade died trying to hold. Nobody's laughing at the charity case from 4th Middle anymore. The 9 source pearls on that plate burst into a flood of pure, cool, life-rich energy that pours into his ruined body like rain onto cracked earth. Our boy drinks it in. And on the far side of that agony, he breaks through to gold level, his entire foundation rebuilt on stolen Imperial power. The kid who couldn't awaken a single card is now a gold rank monster, while most of his year is still scraping through silver. And nobody watching has any idea the fight also handed him a passenger who becomes one of the best secrets in the whole story. Think about what that actually means. A student on a coastal wall in the middle of a rising tide punches through a Demon King's revival array, drinks the fallout, and walks off a full gold rank while his classmates are still counting silver stages. The Sky Patrol Department quietly stops treating our boy as a promising name and starts treating him as an asset, and a very dangerous one to leave unwatched. That passenger is a little slime named Ruan, a devouring type companion that rides on our boy's shoulder and puffs nervously whenever a fight starts. It is not a pet. It is the reincarnation of a demon emperor, reborn small and round and hungry, and its power to swallow energy whole and mask movement makes it the perfect partner for our guy's fire. When a Sky Patrol big shot named Feng Qingshao, a man so strong a burning sun master stands quietly behind him, finally lays eyes on the slime, his sun furnace pupils see straight through it, and he only murmurs that, "So this is how it turned out." That single line carries a lot of weight. A king-level heavyweight of the Sky Patrol just looked at a slime on a student's shoulder and read the reincarnation of a demon emperor sitting inside it. Which means our boy is now carrying a secret that reaches all the way to the top of the food chain. From here, the powers that watch the country start watching him specifically, some to recruit, some for reasons he won't like. Which brings our boy to the Forbidden Zone and the Divine Fire. Deep in a place called Burning Ridge sleeps an undead evil fire. A black-flamed treasure of the fire element, rumored to be able to push a cultivator toward the mythical, and our guy intends to take it for himself. with Ruan spreading a silent, devouring shroud, so even a fire treasure can't sense him coming, and a snow god lotus heart pill from mentor Yang Yifeng cooling his body from the inside, our boy lights his own white and green flame and pushes the great sun burning body technique to the absolute wall. The slime is terrified. Sure, the black fox guarding the flame could boil it alive with a single touch, but it musters its courage, cheers for itself and its master, and wraps around our guy's wrist like a bracelet. It's a strangely tender moment buried in a do-or-die run. A terrified little slime deciding to be brave for the one person who's ever treated it like it mattered. Our boy feels it shaking around his wrist and pushes forward anyway because he's done the math. And the math says this is the fire that turns him from strong into unfair. The tension of that walk-in is unreal. One wrong breath, one slip in the great sun-burning body technique, one moment where Ruan's shroud thins, and the divine fire cooks them both on the spot. Our boy takes it a hair at a time, body screaming. The snow god lotus heart pill, fighting the heat from the inside until the black flame finally recognizes a master instead of a meal. When it's over, our boy stands in the cooling heart of the Forbidden Zone with a divine fire curled quiet inside him, and a slime shaking itself back to bravado on his wrist, and he allows himself exactly one breath of relief before moving on. He didn't get lucky. He walked into a furnace with a plan, and the plan held. Our boy walks straight into the heart of a fire built to cook him alive, and instead of dropping, he takes it. He walks out with a divine fire bound to his soul, and from this moment on, the story changes shape. Understand the leap here. Before the evil fire, our boy is a monstrous gold rank who punches above his weight. After it, he carries a black outer path flame that reads heavier than a shining star's whole presence, an engine that lets a gold limit kid trade blows with elders 2 ranks up. Every villain who filed him under manageable is about to update that file in a panic. With the undead evil fire answering to him, our boy stops being a strong gold rank and becomes an outright anomaly. And that sealed valley from the very start of this story is where the Forbidden Zone finds it out the hard way. 12 gold rank Bull Clan beasts and a hidden shining star spring their trap, certain a lone junior is easy meat. And our guy just looks up at the dome of spirit light and asks why, if they're all already here, they still won't show themselves. We've already seen how that ends. One motion, black divine fire married to the Anno divine spear, and the shining star who stepped out to finish him, an elder a full realm above him, drops instead. The rest of the Forbidden Zone's masters understand far too late that the arrogant junior they cornered is the single most dangerous thing on that entire ridge. The black fire keeps rewriting the rules for him, and a proud enemy named Chong-Chi and the arrogant Qiguang forces line up to learn it. Their fighters come for our boy, convinced that their numbers and their higher rank settle everything, and our guy answers with a photon explosion. A shadow tide of black flame swallowing the sky until, can you still laugh, is the only question left standing on the field. The arrogance drains out of the Qiguang camp one fighter at a time. They came in certain that rank and numbers were a wall our boy couldn't climb, and instead, they watch a black flood roll over their best. The photon explosion and the shadow tide, answering every clever plan with the same brutal punchline. Deeper in the ancient Forbidden Zone, the native beast clans are their own kind of danger, ruled by mythical monsters like Chong-Chi and the Peacock Ming King. Our boy holds a shed peacock feather as a token of safe passage. And it still isn't enough for a hardliner named Gi Song, who snarls that all foreign humans should be put down, feather or not. It's the kind of wall that would end most intruders. Our guy is not most intruders. It escalates into a full international exchange, foreign powers sending their crown jewels, a light element sorceress named Irina, a rune-covered fighter named Gerard, whose cold eyes promise he's never lost. Our boy meets him with black flame filling the whole arena, the anode divine spear and the phoenix perch saber weaving together. And when the spear punches a hole through Gerard's guard and Gerard tries to burst into some hidden final form, our guy has already moved on to the next name. Great Flame's ace isn't just winning, he's making the world's geniuses look like a warm-up. That's the shape the whole international stretch takes. Foreign powers ship in their crown jewels, expecting to humble Great Flame's young ace, and one after another, they leave the arena rethinking their entire scouting report. Our boy isn't fighting to prove he belongs at the top table anymore. He's the reason the table is being rebuilt. He still isn't done climbing. A relic land opens on Yellowstone Mountain, a graveyard of buried swords, and our boy fights through cloud sword trials, sorting the junk from the jewels. Tossing aside an imposing but hollow blade and claiming a cloud sword that carries its own domain skill, and finally, a demon-controlling god-demon sword, a blade that can bend demons to its wielder's will. He hunts the relic land with an all-knowing vision, scrying his surroundings, and his bone wolves teleporting him around like a hive mind, clearing it faster than teams twice his size. By now, the sheer stack of tools is almost comical. A phoenix that folds space, a divine spear, a demon-binding sword, a domain blade, a scrying eye, a pack of teleporting bone wolves, and a slime that eats energy, all riding on a kid who couldn't awaken one card a year ago. Every arc, our boy walks into a treasure vault and walks out with the piece that makes the next impossible fight look routine. The cloud sword he claims from the relic land is a favorite of his for a reason, a blade that carries its own domain skill folded inside it. And paired with the demon-binding god-demon sword, it turns him into a swordsman who fights with the battlefield itself. He clears the whole graveyard of blades faster than crews twice his size, scrying with all-knowing vision, teleporting off his bone wolves, plucking the best relics before anyone else even finds the room. The Demon Blade's power carries him into the Dragon Sect's single greatest opportunity, the Dragon Gate Heavenly Ladder. A staircase of holy light, where every step climbed forces a cultivator's realm higher, with a transcendence token waiting at the very top. Past the 900th step, the pressure becomes a monster of its own. One climber named Wei Yong burning his entire white elephant secret technique just to keep moving and still grinding to a halt. On that ladder, our guy climbs beside a foreign genius named Seth, a fighter of higher realm who moved ahead first and pushed himself half to death to stay in front. Near the summit, Seth barely drags himself onto the 999th step, gasping in relief, and turns to find that our boy has already passed him. Seth shakes his head and admits the loss out loud, telling our guy he's genuinely powerful, that a lower realm overtaking a higher one on this ladder means a loss is simply a loss. Our hero only says that climbing the ladder has no winners or losers, and keeps walking. The holy light on that staircase does something no ordinary trial does, forcing a climber's realm higher with every single step. Which means the higher you go, the more it costs just to keep going. Our boy walks it like the pressure is a polite suggestion, the exact ordeal that grinds seasoned veterans to a dead halt reading, on him like a stroll uphill. It's a quietly perfect note for who our boy has become. Seth burned everything to stay ahead and still got passed by a lower realm, and instead of gloating, our guy hands him the graceful way out. No winners, no losers, just the climb. The kid the whole school pitied grew into the one steady enough to comfort the genius he just beat. At the summit, our boy touches transcendence, banks an epic passive from a golden carp reward that most of the Shining Star elites in the crowd couldn't even qualify to claim, and steps off the ladder carrying gains that put him level with people decades his senior. The fallen prodigy who couldn't awaken a single card is now a name that makes Burning Sun forces sit up straight. A gold rank monster wearing power stitched together from phoenixes, divine fire, demon blades, a reincarnated emperor, and a cheat nobody on the planet can copy. Which is exactly why the Sky Patrol Department wants him. And exactly why, on his way out to answer their invitation, someone decides our boy has grown too dangerous to let live any longer.
An ambush.
2 shining star elders, Black Mountain Elder and Guo Feng, climb a mountain, absolutely certain that a gold limit kid is easy prey. They have fought 1,000 strange things between them, but they have never once faced an outer path skill like the one climbing out of our boy's back. Black flame heavier than their own shining star pressure, pouring off a junior who shouldn't be able to lift it. Black Mountain Elder tells himself it's a bluff and calls down his yin erosion arrow rain, hundreds of black arrows, each strong enough to floor an ordinary gold rank. He wants to see whether it's really formidable or just a paper tiger. It is not a paper tiger.
The black flame giant simply walks into the arrow storm and keeps coming, yin erosion arrows shattering against it like hail on a mountainside.
And the 2 elders feel the first real cold of the day crawl up their spines.
They came up here to put down a child. They are starting to understand they cornered something that hunts things like them. The black flame giant eats the arrow storm and keeps coming.
Our guy fights 2 shining stars at the same time, a full realm below both of them, and his tamed divine fire simply overwhelms the pair.
That whole smug question of whether he's real or a bluff, ending with 2 ambushers finally understanding they walked up a mountain to corner something they should have left completely alone.
The kid the entire class pitied 1 year ago is standing over his elders, and this time, not one soul is calling him unqualified. The 2 elders came up that mountain trading jokes about how quick this would be, an errand, a cleanup, a gold limit child who'd grown a little too loud. What they find is a young man wearing black fire like a second skin, a divine spear in one hand, and absolutely no intention of dying to schedule. By the time they understand the mistake, understanding is all they have left. That is the story of our boy so far. An office worker who died and woke up a punchline, the one student in his whole school who couldn't awaken a card. Sitting on a hidden system and a single blue phoenix who turned a horde of stardust into a perfect deck. A master-grade soul, a divine spear, a demon blade, a reincarnated demon emperor riding his shoulder, and a black divine fire. And climbed from the very bottom of the ladder to the point where 2 shining star elders is a fight he takes on alone. And the truly terrifying part? For every enemy still standing between him and the top, is that our guy is only just getting started. From a floating panel and 1 blue card to a name that makes elders think twice before ambushing him. Every step of that climb was earned in the same loop. Hunt, extract, enhance, repeat. Push past a limit that should have held. That is where the story stands. Our boy at the gold limit. A divine fire on his shoulder, and a whole world of stronger enemies ahead, still climbing, and still, somehow, only warming up.